Sergio today. He is a current employee. What's your job title at Phoenix Rescue Mission?
So my job title is Street Outreach Supervisor.
Okay. So Sergio, Street Outreach Supervisor, and he's going to give us some more insight into what services they offer, all the good things that they're doing, and also he has a unique perspective because he went through the program and now works and gives back to them, and I think that's awesome. So why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about your story? What brought you to the Phoenix Rescue Mission? How did you find out about them? And then we can kind of get into some of the good stuff you're doing now.
Yeah, so it's very similar. I actually heard a lot of very similar things from my testimony to your testimony, and Jennifer, and because I was raised Catholic, but my whole thing was like, I just wanted to rebel once I got to 18 years old, and smoking, drinking, getting high, and then all that progressed. So I tell people, I didn't get to the Phoenix Rescue Mission by being a saint. I went hard in the paint, and that's just how my life was. I would just get progressively worse, and I was abusing alcohol, just a raging alcoholic, and that's really where my journey of coming to the end of myself, sort of, or like people say the rock bottom sort of began, was and not being a believer of Christ at the time, saying that prayer, God, if you're real, help me be sober one day. Yeah. That was my prayer. That's what I wanted to have. I had no self-control. I was helpless. That was in my early 20s, where my life really started to spiral out of control. And so through the years, it was a lot of just trial and error, trying to get sober for my mom, trying to get sober for my kids, trying to get sober for myself, but I couldn't quite figure it out. I was homeless by the time I was 24 years old. And I had started smoking heroin, then I started slamming heroin. Eventually I was smoking meth out there, slamming meth as well. And so I was on the streets a little over 5 years, in West Phoenix. And at that point, when I got to the rescue mission in 2018, I really feel like you name it, I've probably been there. Sober living homes, cash shelter, just different programs, and most of them were faith-based. And I'm looking back, I'm grateful for that, because it opened me up to that, because I was such a rebellious person. And when people try to tell me about Jesus and it's good for you, how convenient your idea of faith, I was one of those types of people, until Jesus really made himself known to me in some of my darkest moments, in addiction, being out there on the streets, and just kind of having a little bit of clarity, and just that spiritual breakdown, right, where I'm just crying and I'm just like, God, this isn't what I actually want, it was fun until it wasn't fun anymore. And so I got to the rescue mission just broken, completely broken, unsure of myself, and just knowing that my only chance at life, at anything good, is the true living God. And that's why I was so grateful to end up at a place like the rescue mission back in 2018.
That's incredible, man. And it's a like we kind of learned, it's a 1-year program, so that's a pretty big commitment for going in, and you're essentially restarting your entire life, right? And it's very regiment, I would imagine, right? Where it's you wake up at this time, and then you go do this, and then you go do that, right? Which is you kind of need that when you're an addict and alcoholic, because it's when I remember, just for myself, there was no actual structure to any of my days. It's I would just wake up, and it was a crapshoot on whatever direction that was go, because I just didn't have a purpose, right? I didn't have a sense of purpose, or I didn't have a direction of where my life was going. Why don't you touch on what does that look like at Phoenix Rescue Mission, as far as the different phases you go through, and how that structure kind of helps you along the journey?
Yeah, it's essential. It really is. The structure, it begins with that, so you wake up at 6 a.m, no ifs, ands, or buts, you're gonna get up. And if you wake up too late, they have what's called a purple rope, So, you know, they'll give you a little purple rope to wear. If you have any privileges, you'll lose some of your privileges.
A purple rope? It's like you have to wear it?
Yeah, so you wear it. So normally
it's like a tassel?
No, so what we do is we identify ourselves with a little badge, and it's got our picture and our name on it. But when you enter RAP, which is the Rescue Assess Placement, it's a white rope, and then when you actually get into the foundations, it's a red rope, and so on and so forth, right? Inner healing.
But purple's like, yo, you're not doing what you need to do.
You see someone with a purple rope, everybody's gonna ask you all day, hey, what did you do? What did you do? And so, it's also a pride thing, right? Because it's not really a big deal, but my pride takes a hit. You're like, man. You know, like somebody had to just coach me through something or tell me about life and responsibility. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And that was hard, but like I said, it's essential. And so I'm in a place where there's accountability, right? There's people who actually love me and care about me, who are like the staff members there when I was there. A lot of them had already gone through it, or even the men of God that didn't necessarily have the life experience. Once I get into like higher levels, they were really pouring into me into like just deeper stuff in the Bible and like some of the sin issue that I had, right? And so that's what that structure brought, was that ability to have that, you know, through, you know, being in classes, and then eventually I got to facilitate classes, and you know, there's the fellowship there, and it's all structured. And trust me, I've been to a lot of different places, and there's some places that are really like hard line, you know, but Rescue Mission, I feel like it's got a lot of structure, but it's also a place where you can have time to yourself, you know, time to find that secret place with God and really meditate and listen. And for me, it was like, learn to pray. Learn to pray and listen, because that's what I did. Is I said I wasn't bringing God into anything that I did in my life, even up to that point. And so I said a prayer like in the middle of the program, 5 months into it. I said, God, you know everything that happens before it ever happens. Help me to make the right decision, right? And so this is a guy who, when I came in, I had no idea what I was walking into. My mom told me after 30 days, Mijo, you'll have housing. Like, they'll take care of you, right? And so I go in and, you know, I'm like, okay, this is cool. And, you know, I'm starting to learn. There's a lot of rules here. And then I'm starting to learn, like, oh, actually, this is not a 30-day thing. This is a longer thing. And so I never even envisioned myself being at that 5 months. But I was thirsty for change, right? And so I think that's what that part of that structure and that freedom was. It allowed me to get into my word, also have the fellowship and have a good time. I think you have to really enjoy what you're doing, enjoy some of the people around you, to sort of really be able to get a root there. Because there was another part of me that was like, dude, you're in a homeless shelter. And that's not what we are, right? But that was that voice in my head. It was like, dude, you're in a homeless shelter. Like, what are you doing here? You know? And so I had to battle those deceptions, right? But through that prayer, I remember putting God first. And at the time, there was what used to be called servant leadership training. And so basically, I go through these phases of program, foundations, inner healing, discipleship, and now, you know, there's a fork in the road now. Now it's like, all right, you can either go to New Start, job attainment, or you can go to servant leadership training. And I wasn't going to be any of those SLT guys, because they're the guys that when staff isn't there, they enforce the rules and things like that, right? I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy. But God had a different plan for me. And so because of that prayer, I definitely, I asked, I was like, God, show me a sign. And he did. He spoke to me through other people. And so I was bummed out. And I remember I made that decision. And looking back, it's one of the best things I would have ever done for myself, because addiction for me, like, I went on the 35th Avenue bus 6 months in, as in my first week of SLT, and I can tell you I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to be on that 35th Avenue bus. But God looked out for me, because nobody presented any drugs, nobody did any of that. But man, that was killing me, right? And so when I came back, I knew I had made the right decision. Right, and I went through the program. I graduated. I lived there for 2 years. Currently, SLT isn't part of the program, but after you graduate, there is an opportunity still to serve as they call it ministry training. And so you're basically doing that, right? You're handing out meds. You're kind of like the guys that the other guys are looking up to. You're welcoming the new guys. You know, you're coming in with just all this experience and love. You know, holding people accountable. Like that's what we needed, is that structure and order, right?
And you're in the best position to hold people accountable because you had just gone through that process yourself, right? That's incredible, man. And now you are you're in the vans. You're in the Hope Coaches.
I was. So this street outreach.
I feel like that would be
new.
so fun. I feel like that would be so fun because you're just kind of cruising around with your crew. And you're just like ministering.
Before I got hired as an MT, I got the opportunity to go out as a ride-along with Street Outreach. And back then it was probably like 6 case managers, you know, a little over 5 years ago. So we've grown exponentially in outreach. Wow. But I got an opportunity to go out and to be out in the same streets, you know, different places of the city, but see the same hurt, see the same, you know, like I couldn't find a place to shower. Like I didn't know what the heck I was doing when I was homeless. You know what I mean? Like my homelessness consisted of chasing the drug. I used to pick up needles off the ground and slammed up with those. Like I'd sharpen them off with cement. You know what I mean? Somebody give me $5, I'd go back and go score some more G or whatever it was. And I'd eat out of dumpsters every day. That was my life. So like when I went out there and I saw that, I could like really just, I could feel that. They didn't have to tell me what they were doing, you know? But being able to even just offer prayer. And eventually I got hired as a street outreach case manager assistant.
And what do you do now the street outreach coordinator? Supervisor. What are you supervising? What do you guys do?
Yeah, so now I get to do a little behind the scenes stuff, you know. So coming, you know, from starting at the bottom, and now I'm here as a supervisor. I'm moving up a little bit, and all the stuff that I didn't get to see, right? And so just supporting the team, making sure.
What do they do, the team, when it comes to street outreach?
Yeah, so our main goal is that we want to go out there and we want to expose ourselves to the homeless community, right? Let them know who we are and what we might be able to offer, or connect them to providers that may be able to offer what they're looking for. And so utilizing techniques like motivational interviewing to really listen to what it is that they're looking for and try to guide them in that process to end their homelessness.
So what would that look like in like kind of like a role play situation? Like if I was somebody where you're approaching me to like just kind of figure out where I'm at, right? And if you can offer any help. And let's say, you know, I'm receptive to that and I'm like, yeah, I would like some help. Are you then like, what does that process look like as far as like getting them the resources that they need?
Well, we want to take action right then and there. We're going to come across a lot of barriers. You know, there's so many barriers. You know, it could be a pet, it could be codependency, it could be, you know, it could be just whatever it is, right? It could be the person themselves having the fear to take action. And so, but when I hear those words, right, I want, you know, can you help me do this? We want to take action immediately, because we don't know how long, you know, they may have that, be in that clear state of mind, right? So that's what the Hope Coaches do.
As an addict and alcoholic, that little sliver of willingness to get help, that's a very small window. You know, is you wait too long and I'm like, no.
I'm going to put you to the test. You know, you say those words, I'm going to put you to the test. We got a Hope Coach right here. Let's make this happen.
It's like,
you know,
pack your stuff, you're coming with us.
Yeah, Rescue Mission's great. I mean, we have, they're outfitted with the Hope Coach, with the laptop, with the cell phone, so they're calling, you know, shelters, programs, whatever it is. We're not exclusive to our residential program. We are all about trying to end somebody's homelessness. So we'll do whatever we can, and we'll get on the phone, we'll throw them in the Hope Coach, we'll travel across the valley and get them to where they need to go.
That's incredible, man. That's awesome that you're able to give back. To wrap this up here, for someone, maybe they're struggling with homelessness or whatever it may be, do you have any words of encouragement from your experience or advice on accepting help if offered, or reaching out for help, what would you say?
I would say to challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to do something different. Because if you're like me, you know, unfortunately, I am not, I know people who have died from fentanyl overdose. I know people that go to jail or and stay in prison, you know what I mean? So I'm very grateful that where I'm at today. And so I would challenge that individual to do something different and look at the reality, right? I'm not here to say that every homeless person is a drug user, because that's not true either. But to do something different, and if somebody comes up to you and presents an idea, maybe something you're not completely fully aware of, just to challenge yourself, maybe do something different. Mm-hmm. If it's RAP, Rescue Assess Placement, in our residential program, do you really have anything to lose if you can get an intake? Or if it's something else that's more, where maybe you got a pet, or maybe some other type of thing that's sort of like a barrier, right? Let us help you, because we want to get creative too. Maybe there's a resource out there we're not completely aware of. I know that I recognize that it's not just rescue mission out there doing the work. There's a number of outreaches out there. Yeah. There's a number of shelters, programs, and ways to end people's homelessness. We want to get creative, and we want to find those for our clients, right? So just challenging that individual to really think about that, and you got nothing to lose. Also, the despair. Yeah. It's so easy to feel like it's hopeless.
Yeah.
Or there's, I got this, I'll never be able to get a job because I owe this or I owe that. And take it from me, like I was able to take care of all my court fees, thousands and thousands of dollars while I was at the rescue mission. Wow. And I got to be in a place of financial stability and responsibility and even savings. And that's crazy to me, but it's possible because it's one step at a time.
And when you look at the grand scheme of things, I mean, you were there for 2 years before you moved on. I mean, that's a relatively short amount of time when you look at the timeline of your life to turn everything around, really.
Yeah.
So it's just good to know that there's resources and places for people to go.
And it's for everybody, really. Yeah. I mean, I was telling Jennifer, my 30s have been the best years of my life. Yeah. But there's so many different
They say the 30s
ages.
are the new 20s.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I'm on board with that because I turned 30 this year.
Oh,
so I'm like, that's
awesome.
it. 30s are the new 20s.
Yeah,
20s are out.
40's the new 30.
I love that.
Dude, well that's awesome. I appreciate you taking some time to sit down with us today. Learned a lot of great stuff. It was amazing meeting you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks, man.